Welcome to Silent Sunday, where there are no talkies allowed here. Today I want to talk about The Gold Rush, written and directed by Charlie Chaplin. As of the time of this video, the film just celebrated its centennial, so there's no better time to talk about this picture. Chaplin plays his tramp character. Even though the credits identify him as Lone Prospector, he is referred to as the tramp in the film, and he is just the same character he has always played. The picture takes place in Alaska during the Klondike Gold Rush. He ends up being trapped in a cabin during a heavy snowstorm with a man named Black Larson, a man who is wanted, and Big Jim McKay, and as expected with Chaplin pictures, there is a ton of lighthearted comedy. We begin the movie by seeing the tramp walking across a snowy cliffside, walking past a cave which a bear occupies. I think this was a real bear in this section. I would love to know how the bear was trained to perform this scene, because if I was Charlie Chaplin during the filming, I may have peed my pants with anxiety, worried that the bear may decide to make my chest into a scratching post. I've reviewed a few of Chaplin's films on my channel, The Kid and A Dog's Life in particular, and The Gold Rush is the best of his films that I have reviewed so far. It is filled with so much fun, energy, laughs, and care. The comedy is more finely tuned than those two prior films were, especially in the sections where he is in the cabin with the two strangers. He divides portions of the movie like they are shorts, but all of it works as a whole narrative and a solid thread from beginning to end. I don't think I'd be alone if I said that I think the funniest section of the movie is the Thanksgiving dinner section. The tramp and Big Jim have not eaten in like 3 days, so in an act of desperation, they boil the tramp's right shoe and eat it for dinner. That's funny enough as it is. I mean, we see them eating this shoe and treating it like it's a Thanksgiving turkey. That's hilarious enough, but the scene continues where Big Jim begins hallucinating the tramp as a chicken several times, and seeing Chaplin walking around in this chicken costume got a huge series of laughs out of me. It was so funny, and I'm not fully sure I know why. I love how innocently silly it begins, but it just escalates to the point where they are both pretending to be asleep while watching the other so they can each make their move against each other. It reminds me of Looney Tunes cartoons where Elmer Fudd is seeing what a cooked rabbit or duck would look like. Meanwhile, Bugs Bunny or Daffy would do something goofball to get the upper hand on him. Every time I watch a Chaplin picture, I approach them like those cartoons we all watched when we were growing up. It not only allows me to escape into the magic of the film more, it gives me an extra comic edge that this is hilarious material for all ages. This is a great film for children, which I seem to say a lot when I talk about silent movies. Later in the picture, the tramp meets the girl of his dreams named Georgia, who seems to be bored with her mundane life and wants someone who can bring a new kind of energy to her eccentric life. She has a boyfriend of sorts who naturally has a rivalry with the tramp and bullies him in a way that is reminiscent to me of the rivalry between Popeye and Bluto. I can't help but think of cartoons when I watch these types of silent films. I believe in my heart of hearts that these pictures helped inspire the creators of so many cartoons that came a few decades later. The story spends a long time in this town area where Georgia lives. The tramp finds a guy who allows him to house sit while he goes on the gold expedition. I need to stop for a moment and praise the cinematography of this film. It isn't epic in scope for the most part, but when we get the wide shots of people walking through the snowy mountain areas and the snow dogs that some of them use, mixed with the simplicity of the little town the tramp stays in, is wonderful world building. Everything from that stuff to the snowstorm allows us to feel the hostility of the environments that all these people feel. It makes the picture very elemental and almost makes the world itself one of the characters. It also helps that the elements in play help enhance the comedy. From the sequence where the three men keep getting blown out of the cabin because the winds are so strong, to the part where the cabin is literally hanging off a cliff, it's such brilliant subtlety to add to the humor of this film for me. But it's not only reserved to that. Chaplin uses the randomness of things happening around him to make the comedy even more poignant. The best example of this is when Georgia asks the tramp for a dance. His pants keep falling down because they are too baggy, so he uses a rope to hold them up, which turns out to be attached to a dog. The dog ends up seeing a cat it wants to chase, and you can imagine what transpires from there. The only question I have is why was there a cat randomly at a bar that has like 100 people or more in it? It's odd on a credibility level, but who cares? It's severely funny. You probably noticed that I haven't talked about the plot very much. That's because this film is very character driven more than it is plot driven. The gold seeking gets put on pause for a very long section of the film as it centers its focus on the tramp and him just trying to live a life with what little he has. It is a drifting kind of film that is designed to take us from one comedy set piece to another. Big Jim has an interesting and fun arc to him with finding the gold, but most of the second and third acts are focused on the tramp. The only thing that does not work for me in this film is the drama. I hate Georgia as a character. I just hate her. I hate her so much. She uses the tramp to make her male friend jealous, has fun with her friends at his expense, and I view her as nothing more than a gold-digging charlatan who cares only about her image and doesn't have any emotion to her that is worth falling in love with. Chaplin has a picture of her that she discarded the night they met. She knows this because she finds it and a flower under his pillow at his cabin, and she decides to set up a false date with him only for it to be a big laugh she can have with her girlfriends. I cannot stand this character, and since I hated her, I didn't care when she's on that boat at the end of the film. Anyway, I don't want to talk negatively about this film because it is an all-time silent classic comedy. I think Modern Times and City Lights are better Chaplin films, but this is a wonderful comedy with one of the best characters that has ever been created in cinema. Obviously, if you haven't seen this film, it is worth your time and I recommend it so highly. There's something so innocent, sweet, and endearing about Chaplin's movies that very few have been able to replicate. I think this is a good film for the whole family. It's available on many streaming services, but I personally really enjoy the one on HBO Max the most. I could have talked about the whole history of this film, how it was re-edited and re-released in the 40s by Chaplin, but there are many op-eds on that subject, and also just visit charliechaplin.com, which I will link below, and it gives you a full breakdown of the history behind this film, including a different woman who was originally going to play the Georgia character. It's fascinating stuff. I just wanted to remind everyone that this film exists, and that it is not just a silent film classic, it's a great movie, period. I give The Gold Rush 4 stars out of 4. This isn't a rating that is just out of respect for historical significance of this film. It is a genuinely great movie that had me laughing out loud dozens of times and smiling many more times as well. Maybe you'll like Georgia unlike I did. But even though I hated her as a character, because that is just not how I view love. So maybe you will like her even more than I did. But in any event, this is a great movie. Please check it out. And that is my review. Thank you so much for watching. I also review new movies, buried treasure movies, and much more. If you like this, please like and subscribe. Here's links to my other videos. Follow me on social media if you like. And until next time, I am Ghost.